episode of Let's Talk Someone Say Sports. Today, my special guest is Ty B, and we will be talking some Bills football. Um, how do you think the Bills will do this season since they had a good draft?
Yeah, I think Brandon Bean, didn't necessarily take, the biggest need at, probably cornerback two or anything like that, but he was thinking, for the future and, what this team's roster composition is going to look like a few years down the road, not just tomorrow. And I like that approach because it sets you up to do a lot of things here when you're going to have to come and you're going to have to pay Josh. But I like the moves that they've made this offseason. You don't lose too many guys. The biggest name really is John Brown. You're able to keep pretty much everyone else in house, and you replaced him with Emmanuel Sanders. Besides that, the biggest signings maybe like Forrest Lamp or Jacob Hollister, but they're just guys that add depth to this team. And the picks that they added, in Gregory Rousseau and Boogie Basham might not be defensive ends that are, going to be every down guys right away, but they don't need to be because you got Jerry Hughes on one side, you got Epineza, and, you still have, Quentin Jefferson and a few of these other names there. So, looking at it on the outside, they've done a very good job bolstering that defensive line. They saw how they got beat last year against some of these teams, and you're going to have to get pressure on these top quarterbacks and these rookie quarterbacks. Don't let them build any confidence in this division. And I I was laughing about it earlier because I was thinking in my head, I'm like, what record are the Bills going to have? And I had like a 12-4 or 11-5, and I'm like, oh, that's not even possible anymore. There's 17 games. Rob, how do you feel about that? We got 17 games this year. We get an extra regular season game.
I I like that they put like the extra game in there this year um for the football season.
Yeah, I think it just, you think about it, the only preseason games that matter are up to that third one. No one really plays in that fourth one besides the guys who are all on the fringe of that roster. And a lot of those decisions have already been made. There's, maybe two or three guys who could kind of jostle for the last two spots in those games, but that's pretty much about it. So moving one of those games from the preseason to the regular season, it does make some sense. And we're going to have, the AFC teams this year get the extra home game so that it's competitive balance within each of the divisions and conference wise. And then the NFC will get the extra one next year. So it's cool that the Bills will get an extra home game this year for all the fans to get to after not being able to get to any of the regular season games last year. And I think it's going to be an exciting team. And with Josh Allen, if he continues to develop his game the way he has, if he can add a little bit more, that stadium is going to be going absolutely crazy, Robbie.
Do you think like that at the Highmark Stadium that the Bills will have like full capacity for the fans or
It's trending in that direction, yes, especially if they don't, or if they required people to get vaccines the way that they've been talking about, and Mark Poloncarz is kind of polling for. Um, we're seeing now with the Buffalo Blue Jays and um, the Yankees and the Mets, they have sections that are going to be fully vaccinated sections, and they're going to be full capacity in those sections. So we're getting back to it, and hopefully by the fall we'll be there. There's a very, very good chance that it's going to be 100% capacity, and I know I can't wait. And I've been talking to some of my friends about it. We were talking about it earlier. What games like we might want to travel to and go to, and having that all being real and possible again is awesome and so exciting right now to start thinking about it. And it's months away, but this team and the news and everything else surrounding them, like, you gotta stay on top of it because once it gets going, it really gets going.
um how does um Trainwreck cover like the Blue Jays and like the Bills and Sabres.
Yeah, so with the Blue Jays, I do like a bunch of articles here and there covering them, and then when they're in town, hopefully we'll be at Seneca One Tower again. We were lucky enough to be there last year. A big thank you to Sean and Douglas and everyone over there who allowed that to happen. It was such a surreal experience. The Jays are my favorite baseball team, so to be able to see them play in my hometown and the walk-off wins and seeing them clinch the playoffs. It was absolutely amazing. So, watch out for a bunch of live videos and streams and tons of chaos if we're back down there. I think that's going to be the plan. But moving forward, we have so many more capabilities in terms of streaming and everything else when it comes to covering the Bills this year because um, as bad as the pandemic was and everything else, it sort of forced us to do a lot of things on the technological side and learning, new things and um, eh, figuring out how to do things, on the go or when we can't be together and being able to do that is going to improve our product in the long run. We'll be able to stream live from the tailgates and Maniac and live interview fans and so it's not just you get a couple interviews of a couple fans. Like you're going to get to see all the chaos that happens down there and I for one cannot wait. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's going to be 100% capacity and we'll be able to get through this thing and it's trending in that direction and I can't wait to get down to one of these games with all the guys. I know, Degenerate Al has season tickets, so he's always got, good content going from over there. And Meerkat's been absolutely phenomenal with his writing on the Bills. His draft coverage was some of the best around, and he put so much work into that mock draft and did such a good job. And um, we have the Crowd Assist podcast featuring Kevin Masari and Jake Watkins, who do a great job as well. Might be a little spoiler here, but I think they're going to be having Ty Dunn on soon, which will be really cool. Ty Dunn uh, did a great job covering the team in his short time here, but is a local Western New Yorker, so he's all over the pulse of the Buffalo Bills. So that'll be a great conversation, and they're doing things pretty much weekly, even during the off season. So if you're looking for things, you can always tune in and find us over at Trainwreck Spurts on Twitter. No O in sports because not enough characters in the name, unfortunately. But yeah, all over the place, Robbie, and it's going to be a lot more fun this year covering it, and actually being able to go live. Hopefully, if the signal's not as bad as it always was down there, but hopefully, we can actually go live down there.
Um, what do you think of like the special teams for the Bills?
Yes, that's actually a great question because special teams is the one aspect that most fans themselves overlook. It's really crucial when you're playing a game. If you're pinned, your average starting position is inside your 20, and the other team's getting the ball close to midfield. It is very tough to win that game. So special teams is a big part of that, and I think last season they figured it out with Tyler Bass. He had some ups and downs, and that's sort of to be expected from rookie kickers. But I'm pretty sure my meme of the the dumpster floating down the stream and asking if it was Tyler Bass kind of fired him up, and then he went on a absolute unreal streak after that. I think he hit like 4 or 5 field goals like the rest of the game. So I think they're good there, and obviously he's got the boot to put it out of the back of the end zone on kickoffs. And you look at the punter position, they went out and grabbed Matt Hack, former Miami Dolphins punter. And over his career, it's really astounding if you look at how consistent he's been. He's always been between like 44 and a half and like 46 for his average punts. And his longs are all between like 62 and 65. So you know what you're going to get out of him. We've seen him in the division. So like the team has scouted him very well. So you got to think that they think highly of him, and being able to get a guy who knows what they're doing. He's a veteran in the league. I like that there. And um, you look at the roster too, and you have a lot of guys that I think are going to, that are holdovers, special teams guys. You think about, Jaquan Johnson can play a bunch on that side of the ball. I'm not worried about him there. I think they're going to be fine. Markel Lee can do it if he needs to. They brought him over from the Raiders. Tyler Manikevich was a special teams ace when they brought him over last season, and he did the same thing. He even had to play linebacker a good portion of the year with all the injuries there, and all these guys are pretty adept, and I'm not worried about it. I think they're in a very good position, and I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out our guy, Reed Ferguson, number 69 himself. Reed, one of the best long snappers in the league. Always, I love when he gets mic'd up and you see him all pumped up on the sidelines. It's awesome to see as a fan.
What did you think of that? Like when the Bills played Baltimore last year, and Johnson took the ball all the way to the end zone.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like, I was just so I was so excited. Like, as soon as he caught it, I knew he was gone pretty much. So I started running around the room, I think, and like you're just so elated. You're like, oh my god, like this might actually be happening. Like we're going to the AFC Championship for like the first time that I'm actually like aware of. Like I was very, very young. I was born in '95, so like I didn't get to see the Super Bowl runs or any of that. So it's like, wow, like this is finally happening. It was like kind of like this crazy ecstatic jubilation, and being able to share that with some of my buddies was awesome. And hopefully we'll be able to share it with all of Bill's Mafia this year when we're back in the stands, because I couldn't even imagine what it would have been like at that stadium, if it was a full capacity, because you could hear how loud it was on TV, and it was pretty incredible for the amount of fans that were there. You got to really commend them. And I mean, for you, like what was the moment like for you? Because I think it's one of the biggest moments in Bill's history, at least for people around our age.
Yeah, and yeah, that was like exciting because um I didn't think that um Jackson was gonna catch him once he passed the logo at midfield.
Oh yeah, yeah, and then you're just celebrating the whole way from there.
Yeah, and like when they went to the championship game, they had trouble with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, so does most of the league, but you saw the Bucks were able to get to him, and the big thing was getting to him physically and being able to put bodies on him, get arms in the way, and really cloud up that pocket on him. Don't let him get settled. Don't when he's getting to the back of his drop, he should be having to move and step away, not being able to make that throw and that quick timing. And that's the big thing. If you can match up well on the outside, which I'm still a little bit skeptical on, like, do we have someone that can cover Travis Kelce right now? That's a whole nother can of worms. But if you're able to get to Patrick Mahomes quicker, you don't have to cover Travis Kelce as long. You won't have, Patrick Mahomes sitting back there with all day rolling out, and they end up getting something off script where someone breaks off a route and gets open or something like that. If you're able to cut those down, you give yourself a great chance to win, especially with how high octane the Bills offense was last year. And I think Boogie Basham a little bit more of a physical rusher. I think Rousseau a little bit quicker. I love his handwork. I think he's great at using it to get leverage, to get to the outside. He can even rush from the inside as a 3 technique if you want on passing downs, which is a good thing. Just being able to have that diversity within our defensive line is going to be really big, to be able to continue to rotate, because we've seen under McDermott and Leslie Frazier, they love the rotations on the defensive line. So giving them a lot of depth there is key. And I think, Sean and Brandon are on the same page on that. And that's something that's, good to see. It's a, it's something in sports for, look at, it's like the opposite of the Sabres, basically. You look at it and it's just absolute chaos. It doesn't seem like there's any communication between coach and general manager, management, ownership, etc. Whereas the Bills, it seems like they're like all constantly on the same page, like they're working out of one brain almost.
Yeah, I mean, with the Sabres, it's a mess over there.
Oh
But
yeah.
like with the Bills, they they have the communication piece there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that also it goes a lot to show, the guys Brandon Bean also brought in around him. A lot of guys who've had experience and guys who are really, really high level scouts of talent. And that's a really, really big thing because, you can look at the collegiate ranks and you see all these guys put up numbers, but what's going to actually translate to the NFL and being able to figure that out, they've done a pretty decent job, but they've done an even better job of scouting the NFL to what's going to fit in, with their roster. What moves can we make internally? Can, little small moves like adding AJ Klein. Um, you know, fans were all over him, early on when he had to step in. And then by the end of the year, he's, one of the best players on the defense and he's all over the place making sacks and all sorts of plays. So um, that's why, we say it all the time, trust the process. You hear it from the team all the time. And shout out to Del Reed and 26 shirts over there, for opening their retail location, but also the shirt they just had, trust the results. The results are there on the paper, and I think it's going to continue to happen. And I think as Bills fans, we should feel pretty comfortable, the next 5 to 7 years, as long as no freak injuries happen or anything crazy like that. I think, Josh loves it here. I think he's going to get that big ticket contract here, and let's go. Let's hopefully we get back to 4 Super Bowls again in a row, but we win them all this time.
Um, how did Trainwreck Sports like get together with the 26 shirts company?
Yeah, so we've we've long sort of had a little bit of a relationship with Dell Reed and them. So it was sort of just like a natural transition and being able to help them and sort of broadcast a little bit more of what they're doing, especially when they have big initiatives and things like that is extremely beneficial to them where Dell can just worry about, making sure the business is running smoothly and getting the designs up and, you know, getting as many people helped as possible and we can help push what they're doing and be an extra voice shouting at the mountains, go get your new 26 shirts and all these awesome causes to help out in our community. We couldn't be any more proud to be able to partner with them because the things Dell's doing for our community, we hear it all the time, whether it's on, WIVB or WGRZ, he's always, doing something and giving back. And just to be able to help that in any way is awesome. And, the potential for us to sort of grow with them as well and use their sort of backbone for potential merchandise and, things like that, because I know we got a few fun designs sort of in the bank too, that we might be releasing with them. So you guys will have to stay tuned for that. But um, yeah, it's just really cool to be working with Dell and them.
If you had a favorite player on the defense or offense, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question, but hasn't been here long, but it's got to be Stephon Diggs. I just love the way he handles himself, that dog mentality he has, and you're hearing about how he had that torn oblique, and you look at the numbers he put up in the playoffs, and it's absolutely incredible the things he was able to do and play through. And the same thing with Cole Beasley playing on a broken leg, and it's just incredible. All these guys just they have so much toughness and will to play for each other, and we really saw that out of Diggs. Like they all really came together and became a family as a team, and that's what you really want to see. We saw it all off season with those workouts that they were doing, and it really worked on the field right away, and that instant chemistry went a long way. And Diggs and Allen are, getting rap songs about him and that now. So it's real cool to see how quickly he sort of was able to be himself and be accepted within this team, where it seemed like being himself in, Minnesota, like, was forcing him as an outcast for whatever reason. And, just him being able to have this outlet through football and being able to be his, his best self is awesome to see now that he's here in Buffalo.
Do you think, like, now that the Bills have um 4 primetime games and one on Thanksgiving
Mhm.
Day, do you think that maybe the national media is like catching Buffalo's attention?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not even just the national media, it's the nation themselves. If you look at the numbers, so the Bills primetime games are right at the top for the entire league all season last year. Like, the proof is there. So the league has to give us these games. People want to see Josh Allen. They want to see Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley and what this defense can potentially do, because you have Trey White and Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, guys who've just sort of been slept on in this league for a few years, but everyone got to see them on full display last year. And, people all across the country sort of root for Buffalo because, we've been down for so long, and it's, the underdog, smaller city, and, Bills Mafia and everything else. And, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. And, pretty much all my friends and people even that I know out of town, if you ask them, hey, like, if your team's out, like, who are you rooting for, they're like, oh, Bills for sure, Bills no matter what. Like, it's it's really cool to hear and to see the way that the public perception has changed the past couple of years, because obviously it was a dumpster fire like the Sabres for a while, but they got things fixed. And the proof is just all there in the numbers. The numbers don't lie.
Do you think like that the Sabres will be able to um get things fixed?
uh I don't know how optimistic I am that fix is quick. Um, I think they improved a lot late in the season under Don Granato, especially Casey Middlestat and Tage Thompson. And then you hear what Kevin Adams says. I don't know if they're necessarily going to bring him back. They're definitely going to exhaust all their options in the search, it seems like. So eh, that's just a big question mark that looms. And then you have everything going on with Jack Eichel, and you have to understand his frustration. He's been here for as long as he has. He's put up borderline MVP caliber seasons, and the team just does nothing around him. They don't do anything to help him. And yeah, like, the surgery is one thing. Like, I get him wanting to do it. UFC fighters have gotten it and they've fought, after. Aljamain Sterling just had the surgery, and I think he's going to be cleared to fight like about 3 or 4 months after it. Like, it's something that this disc condition can happen and just relapse over and over again, and like, it could be a long-term lingering thing. And he doesn't want to be 50 years old with a messed up neck. Like, he's going to want to enjoy time with his children and all that type of stuff after he's done with the game. So you have to understand where he's coming from as well. This surgery, if with the potential replacement of that disc, could um, could potentially solve all those issues, and then he has no problems with it at all going forward, which is pretty much what's been seen in most of the research. We just haven't seen anyone in the NHL get the surgery yet, which is kind of a BS way of them not letting him get the surgery. But if it's not healing with all the natural remedies that they're trying, you're going to have to do something. And I mean, let the man make the decision about his career, and we'll see. But I don't know what they're going to do free agent wise. It's a bad way to help your team, because you're going to pretty much overpay on everyone. You got to make some trades and maneuvers, and I don't want to have to trade Eichel, but I don't know what's going on, and I'm not very optimistic the team is going to play well next year. I sort of was for a little bit until those exit interviews and everything with Jack. I'm like, even if you throw him out there, disgruntled Jack, like how much, you really have to, you got to leave Sam at center, and you got to have that same Casey Middlestat and Tage Thompson you had at the end of the season there. Keep them with Asplund if you want. And you got to hope for the best, because I think that team, like if you put Jack on it the way they were playing late in the season, you probably make the playoffs. So, a long-winded answer, but I'm not very optimistic they make the playoffs next year. I would say their chances are probably like 30%.
Do you think they keep Coach Granado, or do you think they let him? Uh,
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. Like I would keep him personally. I love what he did. Everything I've heard from reporters and people within hockey is that he is a brilliant hockey mind, and you saw he was able to get the best out of the talent that he was given. And he was the first coach to put Sam Reinhart at center and actually believe in him, and we saw the results. So like you can't argue with what he did. He has the levels up. He's pretty much coached at every level, from juniors, the development team, all the way up and through. And he's earned this. He's earned this opportunity, and he hasn't been given it. And he should get it. But there are names out there, and teams in the NHL, as we know, just like to hire the same people over and over again. And to the old boys club, it's kind of like there's like 40 coaches and 32 teams. So there's always like 8 guys just kind of sitting there that are going to get rehired rather than them bringing in someone new, which not always the best thing. And that's why we see in the NFL, there's so many more innovative things that happen, because you bring in coaches who have new styles and new things to push the game forward, whereas the NHL has sort of been stuck in its old ways forever. That's why I think Granado infuses just so much energy and passion, and you're getting the most out of these guys because you're showing that you care. And if you show that to your employees, or your players, or whatever, in all aspects of life, you're always going to get better results, because they're going to care just as much as you do.
do you have any questions?
Yeah. What do you think they do with Jack? Do you think he's going to get traded, or is he going to be here to start next year?
Like from the sounds of the like what Jack said in his end of the season press conference, and that it sounds like he wants to leave Buffalo and try to go to a different team.
Yeah, and I don't think he necessarily felt that way until this injury. Like, there was probably some friction, and he was upset with the losing, and as anyone would be. If you just, the ultimate goal is to get to the playoffs so you have a chance to win the Stanley Cup, and to not do that in the league like the NHL for, the Sabres now 10 years, and Jack's been here, what, 6 or so. So, yeah, I would be just as upset, and to have the team sort of communicate or miscommunicate, whatever words you want to use on this, about the injury and the treatment and everything else, and not trusting Jack. Like, people are like, oh, listen to the Sabres doctors, this and that. Well, Jack is a very wealthy person now at this point. You don't think he's consulting the best doctors in the country? I mean, yeah, I would like to think he's, getting the best doctors to, give him a second and third opinion on this. And I'm sure it's not just one doctor that's telling him to get the surgery. So I'm going to trust him on that, because ultimately in sports, you are your product. Like, without your body, you can't perform, and to be able to perform is how you get paid. So if he just wants to get back out there on the ice as quick as he can, and you can't get mad at him for it. And to see the way that the team sort of treating him over it and not trusting him, I completely get it. And as much as it stinks, I think he might be gone.
Do you think that, like, since Reinhardt's an RFA, do you think he would be the next one to go?
Well, I don't know if a team's gonna offer sheet him because he's gonna be wanting, upwards of 7-8 million, which is, giving up probably multiple first round picks for him. So I doubt he gets offer sheeted. So you're pretty much saying either Sam gets a long term deal here or he gets a 1 term deal or 1 year deal, or you could trade his rights. I mean, that's always in the table, and you can, sign the contract whatever before and sign and trade. There's options there if they want to move him. Um, I thought it was funny the other day. Some guys were talking like, "Oh, well, I hear Sam Reinhart might want to go to the teams that are closest to his hometown," and it's like, wouldn't everyone? Like, if you ask Jack Eichel, like, if he wanted to play for the Bruins, he'd be like, "Yeah, like my family and my friends are all here," and like, yeah. So I
Well,
could see him going to somewhere like Edmonton or Calgary, for sure, or even Vancouver if they want. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think there's a good chance he wants to get moved. If Jack gets moved, I think Sam gets moved, and we're in a full rebuild. So kind of buckle up. Could be a crazy summer.
do you think like that um the the Blue Jays are doing good this season so far?
Yeah. So the one problem is that their pitching has been there in general, but getting so many injuries has made things at the back half of the rotation very sketchy for them. And when you get to those days, it's kind of like hit or miss. Like they might give up like six runs in the first or second inning, or you get a guy who goes 4 or 5 shutout innings, and you hand it off to the bullpen who's been very good. And when it's like that, like you have bats that can should be putting up 5-6 runs a game the way the MLB's been playing lately, but um, their bats have finally gotten pretty consistent now. At the beginning of the season, they were pretty up and down, which happens for a lot of teams in April. Not playing in the best weather, and especially with them not having a real you know, knowing what's going to be happening this season. Guys are, being told like we might be going to Buffalo, so you got to find a spot in Buffalo on top of, having their spot down there in Dunedin where the spring training facility is, and potentially still going to Toronto at some point this year. So, there's a lot on their plates as people, outside of just ball players. So I think they've been handling it super well, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is an absolute superstar. Him losing the weight the way he has not hurt his power one bit, because he's realized that he has the natural bat speed. And when guys are throwing 95 plus, like all you got to do is meet that ball, nice line drive swing. And he's really kept it within himself, not trying to do too much. And he's cut down on those pop flies, and he's gotten a lot of line drive doubles, and he's even scored from first base on a bunch of doubles this year, which it was not happening in past seasons with the gut he had going there. But it's good to see that, and you're getting guys like Bo Bichette back into things, and you add Marcus Semien in the offseason. He's on a 12-game hit streak now, so you're getting contributions from all up and down this lineup. Hopefully, we can get some consistent batting, out of the catcher position. Danny Jansen's been very, very iffy, and Alejandro Kirk is unfortunately on the 60-day DL right now, dealing with some hip injury, I believe. So I'm very optimistic though for their potentials to make the playoffs. And I know the Red Sox, I think, are still at the top of the AL East, but the Blue Jays are getting there, especially over the past 2 weeks. Sorry, producer Burrs, but the Blue Jays swept the Braves twice.
Um. Oh, so one of your guys is a Braves baseball fan.
Yeah, producer Burrs is a big Braves fan, so it was nice to see the Blue Jays be able to sweep them twice, because the Braves are a very, very good team too, and they made it all the way to the NLCS last year and lost in Game 7. to the the eventual World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers. So they haven't played the best ball right now, the Braves, but I think they'll get it going, as we get deeper into the season. But AL East is really heating up with the Jays a game and a half behind the Red Sox, and the Yankees only a half game behind them. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait till they get here in Buffalo and we can get some fans in the stands and fully be able to embrace the team as the Buffalo Blue Jays this year.
Um, when are the Blue Jays supposed to be in Buffalo to start their like?
Is it June 8th, the first game in Buffalo? I can't remember the exact date. Let me pull up the schedule here. It's the series here. Do-do-do-do. Yeah, I think June 15th. Or no, the series, is it the series before? No, June, yeah, June 15th, I believe. So, less than a month away, and we're going to get Yankees, Blue Jays. We're going to get Red Sox, Blue Jays in Buffalo, and fans are going to be able to attend it. So those are going to be some of the hottest tickets we've seen, I think, in Buffalo when the Yankees are here. It's going to be absolutely nuts because there's so many Yankees fans. It's going to be a shame when there's so many of them in the stands that it's probably going to be like a Yankees home game. But nonetheless, I'm very excited. Like I said, for them to be here again, and hopefully I'll get to see them clinch an AL East division crown this year, not just the playoffs. And who knows, maybe they'll host the World Series here.
And my producer, Ron, he's a Mets fan, so
Yeah,
um,
the Mets have been playing really good lately. They're in the first place in that division. There, like I said, that's a tough division and very good teams, and they've all sort of struggled. They're all kind of middling there around 500 or a couple games under. I think a bunch of those teams are going to sort themselves out here soon, and I'm a fan of the Mets. I like what they've been doing, constructing that roster and getting Frankie Lindor playing at the top of his game, and you can really, make some noise in even in the playoffs here with the pitchers that they have.
um, do you have any more questions for me?
Yeah, I got one more. Are the Blue Jays going to win the World Series?
I think the
Come
Blue
on,
Jays.
they're playing in Buffalo.
I think the Blue Jays would like make it to the World Series, but then like in the end maybe they would make the World Series game a close game and um they could win it.
Yeah, hopefully they do. I would. Could you imagine all the stories if the Blue Jays won the World Series in Buffalo? I think the team would have to permanently relocate here.
Yeah, that would be cool to have the um Major League Baseball back in Buffalo.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you for watching this episode of Let's Talk 716 Sports. Thank you to my guest Ty B, and have a great day.